Happy Monday and welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. It is a big week in the SEC. Not only the games, but also what happened after the games. There you're looking at Sam Pittman, who spent the last few years as the Arkansas head coach. Before that was the offensive line coach at Georgia. He is now the former Razorbacks head coach after a disappointing loss to Notre Dame. He is out, making him the first firing in the SEC. We've already seen a handful of Power 4 schools depart with their head coach. The SEC having its first as Sam Pittman is now out in Fayetteville. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined by Patrick Walsh today. And Patrick, it was one of these things where we talked about this with our friends in the Arkansas area. We talked about this with Trey Dare. We also talked about this with Courtney Mims a few times, how it seemingly was, hey, this thing better get corrected quickly for Sam Pittman to keep his job.
Yeah, and I mean, you really feel bad for Sam Pittman because, you know, he's just such a great guy. But the writing was on the wall, so to speak, from a couple weeks ago with the whole Hunter Yurachek comments on NIL,
right,
and that Arkansas doesn't have the money to compete with some of the other programs in the SEC. But you know, in this league especially, you have to win or else you're gone. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, Sam Pittman is the first SEC domino to fall, so to speak. I don't think he'll be the last. I think we'll have a few more before the end of the season. But, you know, this was an Arkansas team that was trying to right the ship after a few bad years for the program.
Right.
And, you know, you had the 2 wins against in-state opponents to start the year. Mm-hmm. And then ever since then, the rails have just fallen off. I mean, worst defense in the SEC.
Yep.
That's been a major problem. And when you give up 50 plus to Notre Dame, that calls for someone to get fired.
Yeah, I think that they had to make a change.
Yep.
And you made a great point about the athletic director. He didn't really help out either, and we'll see if he'll be able to retain his job after the season ends as well. We will get a lot of insight from our friends there in Arkansas after the big news today. Sam Pittman now out as the Arkansas head coach. Let's take a look at some of the topics for today before we dive a little bit more into this Sam Pittman news. We will talk a lot more about Sam Pittman. Also, Alabama ends a 33-game home winning streak. The Georgia Bulldogs held a great win for Alabama, and it's a far cry from where Alabama was just a month ago when they lost to Florida State. We'll dive into Alabama's big win in Athens. Also, Texas, they are now facing the Florida Gators as they jump into SEC play. There was some ups, there were some downs over the first few games. We'll see where the Longhorns stand. And how about Vandy? 5-0, 1 win away from securing bowl eligibility again. We will see if they can get that win. A huge win this week as they come to Tuscaloosa. All eyes will be on that. We'll talk about a little bit more about that in a moment. But first, also, Patrick, I know that you have some numbers there for Arkansas going into this season or into this game and just how disappointing it has been overall for this Arkansas football team. And is that necessarily just, as you mentioned, the fact that they have been the champions of almost for a really long time? We've heard that from our friends. We're champions of almost. They weren't almost on the field with Notre Dame on Saturday. 56 points they gave up, and obviously this comes the week after they lost to Memphis there in a big game, 32-31 there in Memphis. And so things have really fallen off, as you said, very quickly there at Arkansas. And we'll talk a little bit about the replacement for Arkansas because it is a very familiar face that used to do the Woo Pig Suey. And a crazy tenure there as Bobby Petrino now takes over as the new interim head coach. We will see if basically this can be a job interview for Petrino and how he handles these last few games.
Maybe see if he can get the interim tag off him. But I do want to go back to Sam Pittman here for a second. As you can see, here's a look at his record during his Hogs tenure. I mean, the best thing was he went 3-0 in bowl games when he got Arkansas to there. But as you can see, those last 2 bullet points, 425 yards allowed per game and then 30 points allowed per game. Worst in the SEC in both of these categories. I mean, you just can't win ball games when you're allowing offenses to go up and down the field at will, as they please. And I mean, C.J. Carr looked really nice against Arkansas 2 days ago. And, you know, it was a weird start to the year for Notre Dame. They started 0-2, and you know what was going on. But since then, they've won 2 straight. Now Arkansas is going to turn to Bobby Petrino to see if they can right the ship. But honestly, I think this is a deeper problem than just the head coach. There's more it's rooted in something bigger, and that's just how the sport is nowadays.
And Coach Pittman always coached and taught physicality,
yes,
and being physical at the point of scrimmage, the line of scrimmage, and he was known as a tough, gritty guy. Former offensive line coach there at Georgia, everybody loved him, but it felt like whatever edge that they used to try to play with, it feels like it is gone, and it feels like the hunger and the drive for that team to play a physical style of football had completely decimated, especially on defense. And we've talked about this a few times here on this program about where Arkansas was. And it felt like there's an old saying that the key to happiness is expectation.
Yes.
And you highlighted really well there on the graphic, because they went 3-0 in bowl games. It felt like they ended off the season on a really strong note every year. And I felt like the next year was, this is our year. And I felt like the next year was, this is our year. Got a big bowl win. As you mentioned, got 2 wins in state. Got a huge win against Arkansas State. So the expectation felt like we should be moving in the right direction, and then it just comes completely falling off.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at that Week 3 game against Ole Miss, and that's not even a bad loss looking at where Ole Miss is now in the top 5, which that shocked me.
Yeah.
But it was a 1-possession game that they lost to Ole Miss, and here you are thinking, okay, Arkansas, they're not going to be that bad this year. They're going to actually compete, because, I mean, there were some expectations going into the year for Ole Miss. Obviously, they didn't know who was going to start at quarterback. The projection was Austin Simmons. He gets hurt, and now it's Trinidad Chambliss. But, looking back, that wasn't a bad loss. But then you go to the next week, and the loss to Memphis by 1, that kind of had people on edge. And we lose by 43 points
at home. Yeah.
That, oh my, that's unfathomable.
Yeah, and that was the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But I agree with you. I think that this does run deeper, and if it wasn't the Notre Dame game, it would be some other game down the road. And it felt like Sam Pittman would always win a game or two that would end up saving his job. It felt like for the last maybe couple of years, it felt like, okay, 2 to 3 wins. Okay, we're coming up. We're coming back here. We're coming back here, and it never really turned around for Sam Pittman. And like you said, you feel bad for him because everybody likes him, and he will not be unemployed for very long. Of course, he'll hold on for it to get every dime of the buyout that's available to him. But he is such a really good offensive line coach, and he is a great recruiter. So there is going to be a lot of coaches that really want him on the staff to be able to shed his knowledge about offensive line play especially, and being able to get recruits. But they're losing recruits left and right now, because obviously it's a unshaky ground right now, and the players at the end of the season will all have time to hop into the transfer portal as well. So I expect Arkansas to look completely different next year, going into next season, depending on how they finish off the year. But they have one man right now in charge to take over for the next few games. It is former Arkansas coach Bobby Petrino. It feels like these two just can't quit each other. Like,
no.
Petrino and Arkansas seem to be joined there at the hip. We have seen Bobby Petrino had a fall from grace.
Yes.
Obviously, the motorcycle incident was the one that was the straw that broke the camel's back there for his time at Arkansas. He's rehabilitated himself. He had a really strong run there at Louisville and a couple of other stops. He's known as an offensive genius. He now has he has a great quarterback at Tyron Green. Can they make that next step with him? Can they win a few games and get some momentum? We will find out there. But I find it really interesting that it's Bobby Petrino back as the head coach there with the Razorbacks.
We were talking about this yesterday, and I sent to the group chat, like, oh my goodness, like, Pittman is gone.
Right.
And then you go, is that really going to be Bobby Petrino that's going to take over in the meantime? And push comes to shove, yeah, it is him. But, he wasted no time. Yes. He got rid of the entire defensive staff after, as we were talking about, worse in the SEC through the first 5 weeks.
Right.
And I mean, he was like, you know what, I'm going to get to it. I've got a job I've got to do. And I mean, this is a tryout for him, because he could end up winning that job back.
That's the thing. And I had to go back and pull up his numbers. He was the Arkansas head coach for 4 seasons. His last season as a head coach, they went 11-2, and they won the Cotton Bowl. So he's got a really strong tenure as the Arkansas head coach, and then obviously did some great rehabilitation there at Louisville, and then at Missouri State. And a couple of games he ended up going to Missouri State. He went to the NCAA first round of the SES tournament there. So it is Bobby Petrino who is back, and they have some weapons.
Yes,
they have weapons here on offense. So I don't know about the defense because, as you mentioned it, the entire defensive staff is gone, most notably Travis Williams, who coached at Auburn, who played at Auburn back in the day, known as a really good recruiter himself. So they are starting from scratch defensively, but I do expect this team to score some points over the course of the next few weeks here. Now, will they have to win shootouts? Probably so.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got Taylon Green under center at quarterback, I mean, you're going to win some games. The offense hasn't been the problem, as we've mentioned.
Right.
It's just been the defense. But, you know, Bobby Petrino did talk a little bit today in his press conference about what his plans for the defense are heading into the rest of the season. Let's take a listen.
You know, whenever you make a decision, you base it off of, number one, what's best for the team. Number two, what's best for the individual players. And I felt that, you know, it was in our best interest to do what we did this morning for our players to improve individually, get a little bit more motivated, and I think it'll help our team overall get out on the field and compete and find ways to win a game. Yeah, I mean, the first thing we have to do is get back to the principles of good defense, which is get into a great stance, get into a great alignment, run full speed to the football, shed blocks, and tackle well. To stop people on offense, you have to stop the run first, and we haven't been able to stop the run first. Some of it's been our fits by our linebackers. Some of it's been errors. So we're looking right now at really finding out what our base defense is going to be from here on, and then build the package out of that and simplify a little bit. If we simplify and play faster and full speed, then we'll have a better opportunity to stop people.
One thing that really caught my ear about this, Patrick, and we just talked about this as the sound was playing, it feels like the offense, as you said, that they feel good about it.
Yep. And
the defense is going all the way back to literally square one. Hey, he was talking about alignment and assignment and running to the football. It just feels like this defense is like, you don't want to have this 5 games in, but it feels like the defense is literally starting back from square one.
Well, I mean, sometimes you have to start from square one.
Yeah.
I mean, we were sitting in this room about a month ago talking about Kalen DeBoer and Alabama's lack of effort against Florida State.
Yeah.
And they were just talking about, man, we just got to get back to the basics.
Yeah.
We got to control what we can control. And then Alabama goes and rips off a nice little win streak here. But, I mean, you look at it, and it's an Arkansas team that, as we've mentioned, it's a team of almost. They're this close to competing in the SEC. They just need a semi-decent defense to go with their offense that I know is going to score points the rest of the year.
Yes.
But, I mean, when you look at the road ahead for Arkansas, it's not pretty. And when you have a defense that is as questionable as this one has been this year, it's going to be a struggle for Bobby Petrino to get, I think, 4 wins the rest of the way. I mean, you look at it, it's tough.
It's a brutal schedule there. So Arkansas, the first SEC team to have a coaching vacancy and an interim head coach, but he's not the first overall, especially with the Power 4 conferences. We have a few guys that have now been fired and now looking for their job. Of course, we are running on this really accelerated calendar here. As you take a look at the 4 guys that were coaching Power 4 schools, seemingly all 4 are in different places. Gundy was there for forever. Sam Pittman had a nice little run at Arkansas. Deshaun Foster really just kind of got there at UCLA, and Brent Pry was trying to start things there at Virginia Tech. So it's not necessarily one size fits all here. These coaching vacancies are seemingly across the board as far as the different situations that led to them being fired.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Gundy, that one was a little bit of a shocker in a way. I mean, he had been there for so long. Everybody knew that he was Oklahoma State football, but when you lose to Tulsa, then you've kind of got to make a change. And then the same goes with Brent Pry. If you lose to Old Dominion, you kind of got to make a change. I mean, you lose to your own. The programs that lost to Group of 5 in-state foes. And it just felt like changes had to be made. And then obviously with this past weekend, Sam Pittman and Arkansas losing by 40, it just felt like there's got to be fresh faces in charge of these programs. And honestly, just going forward, it's going to be tough for all of these. But, I mean, I know Virginia Tech, I believe, had a nice bounce-back win this past weekend over NC State. But going forward, it's going to be tough for the Hogs.